Happy Tuesday, everybody. I guess I've written down pretty much what's gone on since August 10th. So if I'm not looking at the cameras because I'm reading off the computer because it's quite long, and just wanted to kind of do an update. I'm no saint. I will probably never be nominated for any humanitarian awards. I'm not much of a role model. I've done a lot of things I'm not proud of. I will say that I've mostly accepted responsibility for my mistakes. Every time I've been arrested up until August 10th of this year, I was guilty. I've taken my punishments with the understanding that you pay your money, you take your chances. And I'm not trying to lessen the things that I've done in the past that were just wrong and rotten that I did chasing a high. But I have learned from it, and I have moved on very well, I think. Because eventually I got to the point where continuing to live as a lowlife was just too painful. I've been knocked down, and most of the time it's been me knocking myself down. But I've gotten up each time, and I've changed mostly for the better. I've accomplished a lot of things that I'm proud of. The food truck was a big one. Sadly, it's gone now. And I guess I got to take it back really to June. The incident where I got arrested was August 10th. But in June of this year, I drove to Augusta, Georgia to pick up and bring a friend who was in an abusive relationship back to Jacksonville. Her significant other had been abusing her for a while, and the abuse had escalated to the point where he had beat her so bad that he had a felony domestic warrant out for his arrest. Now, this friend ended up moving in with the lady across the street from where I was living. On August 9th, I pulled in to my house and saw my friend walking back from the store with the guy who had been beating on her. I was concerned, but knowing that it is impossible for me to fix stupid, I didn't go looking for answers. Had I known that less than 36 hours later I would be going to jail for defending my person and property while on my property, I would have called the cops so fast the screen on my iPhone would have burn marks on it. So anyway, the next evening, my friend and her abuser had some kind of argument, and she ended up leaving. I went down sometime afterwards to lock up my truck, and while I was on my way there, he starts threatening me with physical harm. He's going to beat my ass and yada, 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 yada. I'm getting involved in his relationship with his old lady and all this stuff, and I talk smack back to him. This guy's a piece of shit who abuses women, and as far as I'm concerned, he's no better than a child molester. So he charges at me while I'm at my truck, screaming that he's going to fuck me up. So I pull the machete from the back seat of my truck, and he reevaluated his course of action. So he runs back across the street to his house. I'm walking back up. I got to go up the side of the truck, around my food trailer, and then around the cab, and then up to the carport. So before I even make it back up to the carport, he comes running at me with a broom handle in each hand. I get behind the gate. I threaten to call the cops on him. And at this point, he tells me, say goodbye to your food trailer. You're never going to sell another sandwich, something along those lines. And then he goes over and he starts, there was a big propane tank on the back of the truck, because there's a gas grill, a gas fryer, the hot water heater was gas, and he's taking off the hose off the tank. So it's pretty obvious to me that I'm never going to sell another hamburger or say goodbye to my food truck. He's going to set it on fire. You get that propane going, it's aiming right at the trailer. The trailer's made out of wood. It's going to go up in seconds. And so I grabbed my roommate's BB gun and started shooting at him and attempted to dissuade him from his course of action. It worked. He got away from my food trailer. I put everything back together, and I go and stand back in my carport, behind the fence, behind the gate, and I'm just keeping an eye on my stuff. 5 minutes later, the police arrive and arrest me. They never asked me my side of the story or anything. It felt like a bad luck game of Monopoly, only worse. So they take me to jail. I go to a bond hearing the next morning. My bond was initially set at $85,000. They arrested me on a third-degree felony and a first-degree misdemeanor. I spent 45 days in jail. They dropped my felony down to a misdemeanor, and at this point, my bond had dropped to $12,500. So I paid the bondsman $1,250 to bond out, and I did so with the intention of fighting my case. I really didn't feel like I had done anything illegal. So I go to court this morning and was told by the public defender that the offer was 6 months of probation, time served. I told him I'm not going to plea out, that I'd never even seen the police report, didn't have any information, never received any date. No one had ever asked me my side of the story. Public defender, nobody. Now, the day I got out of jail, the next day I went to the public defender's office, and they said, oh, well, we haven't been assigned to your case, so we really can't do anything for you. So I have no information. The public defender doesn't even know the names of my alleged victims. He had to get it from the state attorney. I tell him that I'm the victim, that I'm innocent. So he tells me that if I don't plea out today, that the state was going to bump my charge back up to a felony, so my bond would go from $12,500 back up to $85,000, which meant they were going to relock me up, and that I could fight the case from jail. That was not an option. And I had shared, this story with a friend earlier, and he really thought that I should have fought it from jail if necessary. Let me tell you about some of the things I saw in jail. My third day in the dorm, first I was on the second floor with mostly misdemeanors. Then they moved me up to the 5th floor. And my third day there, a group of about 12 inmates took turns beating another inmate for 7 hours. The officers on duty for that area were completely oblivious to this. When you're standing up there, there's like a little walkway. You got cells down below, then there's stairs, and there's like a landing, and there's other cells. And from up there, all the walls are glass, so the officers in the bubble can see through into the dorms, and vice versa, we can see into the officer bubble. So they're just completely oblivious. They're in an officer station watching YouTube videos on the computer, shooting the shit, checking status updates on Facebook, everything but what they are paid to do. Now, these officers are supposed to do walkthroughs through the dorm at regular intervals. They have like a handheld scanner. It kind of looks like the pricing, the name your own pricing tool from Progressive. And they come up and you have like an armband on your wrist, or you have a wristband, and it's got a barcode on it, and then they come up and they scan your wristband. And they're supposed to do this regular intervals to show that they're doing their job. But what they do is they'll walk up on the outside. They've got a little vestibule, and they'll just wave an inmate up to the glass, and they'll just scan their armband through the glass. They don't even come in half the time. So this guy's beating wasn't even discovered till 8:30 that night, when there was lockdown, and everybody goes to their cells, and the officers come through to make sure the doors are shut. And then they saw this guy, and he was swolled up. The guy was like, they'd been beating on him for hours, taking turns. And it's just acts of violence like this were just way too common in my dorm. And even the week before I bonded out, another inmate was beaten so bad he had to have staples put in his head, and they beat this guy up for tuna fish and honey buns. It's definitely not where I want to be. So this, in my opinion, it's not justice, and it just seems to be the exact opposite. Adding insult to injury, my roommate, who had previously stolen two $250 Amazon gift cards from me, and whom I had forgave and not had arrested, used the injustice against me to enrich himself by stealing from me once again. He helped himself to money and other valuables I had, and even though I had paid him several months' rent in advance, he rented out my room within days of my being incarcerated. Additional insult, the furniture in the room, I paid for it. The bed was mine, the dresser was mine, the wardrobe was mine, the shelves in there were mine. I purchased all this. I painted the room. I spent the money to paint the room. I tore up the old carpet. I made the room actually look nice and livable because I want to have a little pride in where I was laying my head at night. When my dad went down there to get my stuff, and he told him that I hadn't paid him a dime in months and that he was keeping my stuff. I sent my dad and him a breakdown of when and how much had been paid, because there was some things I'd ordered for him online, or I lent him money, or he was short, or he gave me money for rides, but we just took it off the rent. And I was still several months to the good. But my dad gave him back most of my property, but there was still $960 unaccounted for. And when my friend who was standing across the street defended me against his lies and brought up my Amazon cards, he told her I deserved it. Unbelievable. I knew this guy had issues even before he stole from me, but this was a whole new level of lowlife. I was like, wow. Just to give you an idea, here's a chat we had via text a while ago. This was probably about 2 weeks before I got arrested. I texted him, "Give me a heads up, I'm bringing a girl over tonight." This is what he texts back. "Thanks for waking me up. You have great timing on bringing people to the house after 1 a.m. Really kind of fucking sucks. And you let her come downstairs by herself. I really do not like that shit whatsoever. Please do not let that happen again. I will freak the motherfucking hell out. She needs to realize that this is my motherfucking house. If I see her walking in with a motherfucking cigarette in her mouth, I'm going to blow my motherfucking top right the fuck off. And if I wake up and smell cigarette smoke, you will really motherfucking see me motherfucking freak the fuck out." I texted back, 1, you told me to tell you if I was going to bring someone over. 2, you have told me on many occasions that you don't go to sleep until 3 or 4 a.m. every day. 3, At this point, you and your mother have met her several times and know who she is. I don't feel I should have to escort her to the bathroom. 4, I really feel like you owe me some extra consideration after stealing from me and my not having you arrested for several felonies or extorting you for several months of free rent, like you offered after I caught you. I mean, he came up and knocked on my door. I was calling the cops. As apologetic as you can get, man, I'll give you free months rent. I'll give you extra money. I'll give you whatever you want. Please don't have me arrested. So he texts me back. This is my motherfucking house. 2, I feel there is a larger need other than knowing who she is walking through the house by herself. 3, no one in this house smokes cigarettes at all now, and I never smoke cigarettes first thing in the fucking morning. I hate the smell of cigarettes first thing in the morning, and now I do not like smelling them whatsoever. Side note, he had quit smoking 2 months before, maybe a month before, 6 weeks, which is admirable because, I think cigarettes are nasty. I hadn't smoked in years, and I'm glad I don't smoke anymore. But, when his little sugar baby was over there, the no smoking rule didn't apply. But, when I have someone over now, they can't smoke. I just deal with it. I roll up the windows in my room, open the windows, and the smoke goes out. And then 4, I think I have been a very considerate motherfucker since you have moved in. There are a lot of things I could complain about to you, but I don't. Granted, I did spend the money on those cards and did not own up to it, but I damn sure did not steal them. I loaded them onto my Amazon account to see if they had money on them, and my dumbass could not stop spending it. I know that's fucked up on my part. I didn't even respond after that. He knew they were my Amazon gift cards. The first video I put out showed the exact same cards. And they came up missing from my room, when I'd gone up to Georgia to pick my friend up. I came back the next day and they were gone. So at first I'm thinking, well, maybe I lost them. But nah, there's no way. He went in my room and took them. As far as him being a considerate motherfucker since I moved in, listen, there's no such thing as a perfect relationship. Now, this is just my opinion. I think we strive for perfection. I think we have moments that are perfect. But I think there's always going to be a potential for some kind of conflict or disagreement. When you deal with other people, you have to compromise, especially in a roommate situation. You try to respect everyone's, but you have to communicate. And while he never really did complain to me about things that I did he did not like, he did complain about every other person living in the house, including his mother and his son. So I know he was bitching about me to them. It just goes to show you what a nasty person he is. So, I'm a free man. I have to check in at probation on Thursday. So I'm kind of interested about that because I'm supposed to have an address. And right now, this is my address. And I'm mobile. But, it's a comfortable van. I do wish it was a little bit cooler. It's still kind of hot at 75 degrees now. I've got this little battery-powered fan, so we'll see how well that works tonight. Just something to get some air blowing on me. Hopefully will help. I'm a fat boy. I got to have my airflow. But, all in all, I believe this experience will lead to something better, and it's just another lesson that life has thrown at me. Anyway, that's all I got. Enjoy your week, everyone.